Yeah, we are live now, ma'am.
Okay, Ria.
Yes, Neeti ma'am, I think you could begin.
Yeah, so should we begin? Is it 12? I think we can begin.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Yeah,
ma'am.
let's. Um, a very warm good morning to all of you. We are very glad to get back to our audience. And today I have with me one of the most eminent women IPs of the country. She's the first IP registered with IBBI in India. And she was the very first among the few who had the experience of insolvency cases under IBC. Miss Mamta Binani. Ma'am needs no introduction. She has been a veteran in the field of chartered company secretaries and finance. Ma'am has been a former president of ICSI. And most importantly, Mamta ma'am has been a great thought leader of the country. Uh, her experience as an academic board member is something that we are here to learn from. And I must make a mention to all my audience that ma'am has been a constant guiding light for the GIP as a course and GIP students since the very inception of the course. In fact, we would not have achieved the success as we did today if we not had the force of strong women, strong female IPs with great experience on field as ma'am. And I can definitely say that the course is enriched with her being on the academic board. It has added a lot of rigor to the course. Um, with Mamta ma'am, I also have with me three of our very promising students, the future of insolvency profession and future of the country. Uh, I have with me Akriti Sood. She's a company secretary. Pallavi Agarwal. She's a chartered accountant. And Manoj, he's also a chartered accountant. And the reason why we got here today was to let our viewers learn from the experience of Mamta ma'am and also our GIP students. And we wish to keep this session very informal, and we'll ask questions from Mamta ma'am. At the same time, audience, you can keep viewers can keep putting the questions, and you can also direct it to either one of us, or you could ask, and we can direct it to the concerned persons here. So if I may ask Mamta ma'am to if give some opening remarks for today's webinar. Ma'am, please.
Thanks a ton. This forum and during a lockdown, I think it makes a lot of sense to do this program because a lot of people are now introspecting. They've gone back to their books and the copies where they are writing that what are my strength areas and what are the weaknesses in which I need to strengthen further. Probably they are doing a lot of SWOT analysis, is what I understand. I also live in a joint family where we are 14 of us. And I see them every day that people are doing yoga and they're doing all sorts of exercises to gain a lot of confidence and memory enhancement, etc., etc. I think probably this is the right time to really talk about this course, this profession, and the way it's panning out, the way the government has come forward and said that the threshold limit is now being increased from 1 lakh to 1 crore, and the finance ministry also contemplating on the fact that this could be 7, 9 and 10 section could be suspended for a period of 6 months. We've also seen few countries in the COVID-19 wake actually suspending those sections. So I think if this happens, it would not be new to the world because other countries have actually done it already. I think, for example, UK have already done it. So the point that I'm driving home is if the government is thinking so very fast about this law, then actually this law has been really creating waves in the entire economy. And that is the reason why that this was the first food choice to be eaten by the government. So therefore, it really shows that this law is just not in the textbooks. It's panned out. It's doing tremendously well. And while we speak on this law and the course, we'll actually think to ourselves that what we are saying is really making a lot of sense. But before that, let me tell you that I think India is the only country which has now come up with a course like a GIP. Neeti is the one I really admire her for her stability to what she brings to the course, and the innovation that she always thinks about in the course. Though we are a lot of board members in the course, but believe you me, she works as an anchor person, and we all understand how an anchor person is so very important to anything that we do, not only a course, but any small little thing that also we do. So a lot of accolades goes to Neeti and her team to really bringing this course to light, and not only bringing it to light, but holding it all through and seeing that we see the light not only at the end of the tunnel, but also at the beginning of the tunnel. I remember when we started this course, all of us, brought in our share of wisdom, in the sense that we also had our own fears, we also had our own negativity, and we also wanted to build on our fear psychosis that we had, because no other country had GIP, and therefore we had nothing to really look upon. Because if you see a lot of the laws that comes to our country, somewhere or the other it has been time tested, and India always then learns from the mistakes that those nations have made in those laws. Therefore, we already have a springboard to jump on while we come out with new laws which has already been time tested in the other nations. But here we brought out GIP, we brought out information utility. I think these are the few things which no other country actually had it. So bringing in GIP, I'm not comparing it with an IU, but I just wanted to bring that innovation factor in the forefront. GIP, I think, is a thorough, great innovation, because here on one side we say that insolvency law is a law which is meant for 10 years, 10 years guys who have been already in profession, because they bring a lot of gray hair experience into the law, and probably this is a law which actually needs this grandfather approach, where you need people with that kind of an experience to come, and only they will be becoming the IPs and steering this tough process. So here we are then talking of people who would be GIP students who are very young. If you can see the faces of Pallavi, Akriti, and then if you look at Manoj, and then if you look at me, you understand what's the difference. So the country was gearing up with having such young professionals into the fold of insolvency professionals. And look at the role that has been panned out for insolvency professionals. People just feel that, Mamta ma'am, it's a very process oriented field. So how does it matter that even if a person is a 1 year old in profession or a 2 year old, they will be able to do it? It's process oriented, and the process is in a manner quite well laid down in the code. It's not left anything, nothing is left to chance. If you see the amendments that was brought out by IBBI in its regulations, it actually brought out the process in such a manner that nothing was left to chance, and no room was left for maneuvering. So therefore people said that, oh, it's just a process, and I'm sure, we don't even need such extreme course for the people to go through to actually becoming a student of GIP, spending so much of time, money, and resources, and then taking them out in the field for becoming insolvency professionals. You could have just made them insolvency professionals from day one, because if you're a chartered accountant, do you need any further certificate to do an audit?
No.
Even if you're a company secretary, do you need any further certificate to become a company secretary in a company? No. Just because you hold a degree, enough a certificate that you can go out in the world and say, hey, I am a professional. You don't say I'm a 1 year old professional or a 2 year old professional, do you? You never say that. So you can do an audit of a big company or a small company, etc., etc. So therefore, people were thinking and saying that, why this GIP? When this country got this law, that was a time when we did not have anything, and therefore the grandfathering approach was required, and that was a time when 10 year thing was required. But now, why? And so therefore, we actually thought and thought, and the first thing that came to our mind is that this law is not only process oriented. Process is just some part of the law. If you actually see this law, and therefore GIP is actually teaching you that this law is about the process. You need to learn the process. It is very meticulous. You don't have room for going here and there. At the same time, it tells you that you can preserve the assets of the corporate debtor. You need to manage the affairs of the corporate debtor. Now, look at these small words that I'm using, but it carries a lot of in depth meaning. Manage the affairs of the corporate debtor. Protect and preserve. Do you think preserving and protecting is an easy task? Protecting and preserving the assets of the corporate debtor, and more so to redirect the process in such a manner that the first objective of IBC, which is to get a resolution, is achieved. So, therefore, you are actually sitting in a surgeon's seat, if I may say so. And to sit in a surgeon's seat, I can't just let you go out with a mere degree. That has to come with a good amount of training, and that training has to come from people who have actually been in the field, who have been veterans in the field, who have seen quite a lot of it, and they actually imbibe all those skill sets that you need. People may say that people are born intelligent, intelligence can never be earned, but I always have believed, and if I when I look at myself also, I come from a very humble family. I always feel that no, these things are things you can imbibe upon. Only what is required in all of you, and if you're hearing me right, what you just need is probably the willpower. If there is a wish, if there is a will, everything is possible. I think these days we are just lacking those two words and nothing else. Nothing is impossible. And so, therefore, GIP course actually is designed in such a manner that it teaches you the law, because you need to know the law. Obviously, you need to learn the letter of the law. It also teaches you where the spirit is coming from, which are the countries and continents from where we are taking it from, and what is the idea behind the whole thing. It actually teaches you and imbibes you what are the objectives of the code, etc., etc. And therefore, we felt that GIP is actually not only very important, but it is inevitable that a person who's getting on with this kind of huge task needs to be armed with all the ammunitions that one needs. Let me also tell you that this law is not for everyone and anyone. I will be honest, because this law is not only, as I was mentioning, those 3 4 objectives that I said. It's actually also putting the corporate debtor to its feet. If you see, this law talks about saying, so nowhere it's said in the letter of the law, but it actually is a beneficial legislation. If you see, it's not an adversarial legislation where there are pleadings, there are written submissions, there are petitioners, there are respondents. No, we are not here to fight with each other. It's actually a law which is said to be a beneficial legislation. It also goes on to say that if there are some adversarial transactions that has happened, like the avoidance transactions that has happened, the insolvency professional needs to actually see to them and bring those money back to the company. So therefore, you can understand that your feeble shoulders that it may look, but you cannot afford to have, those feeble shoulders anymore if you actually plan to become an insolvency professional, or even if you plan to help an insolvency professional to do their task. Because avoidance transaction is one of the very major uh, opportunity, if I may say, because then you're proving a metal to the world, and it's a very big responsibility that has been given on your shoulders. And I think, apart from anything else, when a person is so sick, or probably is in a vegetative state, and is lying in the ICU with just no resources, and that's the time when you walk in with just a scissor and a scalpel in hand, and you're told that, do the operation. You don't have any money, you don't have any operation theater, nothing that you have, and you will have to be that, the Vishnu and the Brahma and the Shiva to make sure that the company revives and goes back to its feet. So it's not a mean task. And in GIP course, therefore, Neeti will actually, I'm sure, will very much agree with me that we are not only teaching you the course, we are not only teaching you these skill sets, but we are also teaching you values. We are also telling you that you've got to be extremely honest, because you're an officer of the court, and therefore we are imbibing all the governance that needs to be imbibed. I'm sure you'll be having one fact at the back of your mind, that Mamta ma'am, can these values be imbibed now? Now we are grown up children. We are not, we are hum log के घड़े तो नहीं रहे. So therefore, whatever we have learned in our yesteryears, that is what we will remember, and that is what our culture is. So probably, if I don't believe in those, I will never start believing it from now. But I still feel that when you get into the seriousness of it, you start feeling it to yourself that no, I have to be governed. Because you know what happens? The moment you sit on a chair, for example, a judge, if at home, is never a judge. Do you think his wife will be calling him as a judge or treating him as a judge? No. But when that person sits on the judge's chair, suddenly I don't know what happens. Some invisible power comes to him, and he knows that I have to do justice. A lot of people are just dependent on my stroke of a pen, and therefore, that person is वो क्या भगवान का दर्जा ले लेता है, isn't it? He is then treated as a god. People look at him as a god. It is exactly like this. An insolvency professional, when you're not an insolvency professional, you're just a normal person. But when you actually get inside the role of an insolvency professional and you wear those shoes and button your shirts thinking that I'm an insolvency professional, I think the whole impact changes. And therefore, GIP is actually not only teaching you all that, but is actually teaching you governance, honesty, and all those virtues that you actually need to do this task. So I think this opening has become a little big, like a marathon.
No,
But then,
but I think you really set the discussion flow very well. In fact, so ma'am, was that the reason? And I'll go back to students again to ask them that we had courses like societal dimension of insolvency. We had courses like consultation of stakeholders.
yeah.
So if I could go back to my students and ask them that how did you enjoy learning about these courses? So you had courses like societal dimension, stakeholders consultation, employee management at one side, and then on the other side you had courses like finance, hardcore law. How, how did you balance learning these two? And then after asking you, I'll go back to Mamta ma'am and ask that do you think we have done justice enough with the what you had thought in mind with these courses that you just planned and what they have learned from the course? Yeah, over to you,
So,
students.
ma'am, if I may start, I think when I came to GIP, sorry, the only thing I had in my mind was I was going to learn about a new law which is replacing an old law, and that will be it. But when I came to GIP, there were, plethora of things that I got to know that, insolvency and IBC per se is not only just a law. It is going to affect the society as a whole. So when you introduced, concepts like societal dimension and ethics and leadership and thought leadership, that actually gave me an edge over any, I may say, company secretary or any chartered accountant who is just bound to what he or she has been taught in that course. And this is what GIP gave me, an extra thing that I thought I would not have gotten any which way in any other course. So that is my taking from GIP and everything.
Yeah, Pallavi.
Yeah, so what I thought was like when we are going to become an IP, so I learn how to act like an IP and think like an IP. But here in GIP, what we've learned is what the customer might think when the company is into insolvency. What is the supplier thinking? What is their mindset? How they perceive that how this process will go? What will be their like fortune in it? So in GIP, it is not only becoming an IP and thinking like an IP, but thinking from the perspective of each of the stakeholders that is involved in an insolvency process. So that was like something which I didn't think before coming to GIP, that this is what I learn here. This is what will be taught to me, and from the industry expert themselves. So that was great. Like Manoj, if you might like want to add something to it.
Uh, the courses with like social dimension and other, they improved the soft skill. As a CA, when I came, I know the hard skill of my was finance. But when I came here, we started with the legal preparatory course, some basic of legal, some basic of other, then some basics of what public policies is, what public view as this law is. So this not only give me a one dimension what IP should do, but also what would be the impact on the common man, what would be the impact on the stakeholder when an action is done by the IP. And when such things are taught in a form of case studies and such things are taught by the industrial leaders, it gives you a different perspective altogether, not a very. And the best part about here is we have every qualification student here. The student has a different, it comes from the diversified background, have a diversified experience also. So the peer learning also helped me to learn this concept, and it helped me to what I thought that I would be learning a law only, but now I would be learning the practice. I'm learning the business. I'm learning some ethics. I'm learning a holistic view is given to me. And I think what an IP should have been, the experience teaching in the 10 years, I think I'm ready. Whatever learned, I would have been ready in 2 years. So that is my take of GIP.
So, ma'am, we try to, I must note here that, we feel grateful to the whole academic board and advisory board members. And in fact, to even many other IPs who are not part of the GIP, but definitely the whole overall ecosystem, because we were able to get one of the best people,
Yes.
insolvency professionals in the country, and, make them teach. Do you think, we have these skills will help them when they join the profession, when they have studied ethics along with ethical decision making, along with financial aptitude and expertise that they have built up. So how do you think young people will benefit from ethical learning and ethical decision making? Can you quote some instances from experience where ethical decision making comes into practice?
Yeah. I think Pallavi is saying something.
Ma'am, this is what everybody to each of us personally also, like all the interested candidates, this is their favorite question to ask. Like how us as young professionals will be in the same arena as the insolvency professionals like you, who have had those experiences and then have become insolvency professional. So how will we survive in the same field as you experienced professionals?
Yeah. So a lot of anxiety there, but ma'am, would you be able to answer that question? Yeah. Thank you.
Honestly speaking, let me first tell you, as I was mentioning a little time earlier, that if you are a young professional, anybody stops you to start practice in your law or in your field. If you're an advocate, you can straight away wear a gown on the first day of your degree and just go there and stand there, make your mistakes and then learn and then redo it. The only problem in this law is you cannot afford to make mistakes. So if you become an insolvency professional, you cannot afford to make mistakes because of the very simple reason that here you are the guardian of that corporate debtor, and more so you're the guardian of the law. So that one mistake that you make not only spoils that entire ecosystem connected with that corporate debtor, but actually brings a lot of bad name to the nation as a whole. If you see, I'm sure in your classes, some examples must have been brought forward where some insolvency professional, because of whatever reasons, because of maybe lack of understanding of the code, because the code is still evolving. If you read any of the judgment, the courts still have written that the code is evolving. So imagine what it was when it was just about 1 month, 2 months, or 3 months in the code. I think I was the first insolvency professional who could bring out. Everybody is aware, Synergies Dure Automotive Limited is a very celebrated case, not only in the country, but across the world, where I think people call it by a bald cut rather than a haircut. So that was a time when I had really no formats to look over. I had nothing to read on. I was just trying to understand the law on my own and doing it. So of course, that 10 years or 15, I was coming with a 20 years of experience. That definitely helped me to understand the law better because I had a lot of exposure in the current work that I was doing. Having said so, Pallavi, Akriti, Manoj, and whoever is suffering through this anxiety, let me tell you, you will be having your part of practical training, right? Secondly, why do we actually? I mean, I just take me as it is. Just don't have your own interpretation over it. If you are not very comfortable, why is it that you just have to take up an, an assignment as an insolvency professional? Just when you are out from this course, after the practical training, why don't you think of actually joining a firm which is into the thick and thin of it and learn the skill sets? See, any person who is into the thick and thin of it will be very happy to take you, because the person would know that they do not have to teach you the ABCD of the code. You would come with all that skill sets, you know, and actually the soft skills also. Because believe you me, this law is about the law, surely, but it's more about the attitude. And that's the reason why Niti told and said that we made sure that we actually teach you the attitude. We tell you what is the right attitude required to do this work. And all of you, let me tell you very honestly that the attitude normally doesn't change if you are a 24-year-old vis-a-vis a 30-year-old. If you are an attitude who believes, if you're with a person of an attitude who thinks that it's good to hear everybody and then form an opinion, that same tendency will even remain after 4 to 5 years. You know, just that the scale of patience changes. You know, as you grow old, probably you become a little impatient, or vice versa. It depends on the person. So never think that your age will be an impediment to you. I think this age of yours is going to be the best, if I say, the best point that you would have when you go out in the field. I remember Sahu sir, in one of his speeches, he was mentioning that the other countries in the West are plaguing with the fact, that suffering with the fact that their insolvency professionals are now aging.
Yes.
They don't have those fresh minds coming in and the fresh blood coming in, because the insolvency professionals, like us, if we don't have the fresh blood coming in, we'll age. And as we age, you know, our thinking process, etc., will also go down. So therefore, I think this country is very fortunate to have this young generation who's being actually honed to make sure that you come to the field. And as I said earlier, and please don't read it in the wrong manner, I would just like to say that just don't go to the circus tent unarmed, number one. Number two, just wait for a year or two, work with a firm which is actually into it, see how he conducts the COC meeting, see how he meets the different stakeholders, try to imbibe all those skill sets while you see him in work, because then you will be actually in one such subset where a country has adopted a law which has been already operative in other nations for 2, 3, 4, 5 years. So if you're able to give that 2 years to yourself, believe you me, that's going to really help you. Before becoming a dental surgeon, that person is actually working in a clinic for 2 to 3 years under a surgeon before he or she says that, hey, I am a surgeon. So that's the same fact that I'm trying to tell you. Don't think that GIP has just given you a license that, hey, I have a license to kill. I just can become an insolvency professional. Who stops me? Nobody will stop you. It's your inner conscience that should tell you that, hey, let me just wait for 1 or 2 years at a max. And then the world is just open for you. Nobody stops you at all. But having said so, I reiterate that, of course, you have that license where you will be able to become an insolvency professional. And insolvency professional is not only about the IP or the IRP. You can become representative in meetings. You could actually do personal insolvency. You could appear in courts because you now know the entire law. If you're an advocate, if you're a CS or a CA or a cost accountant in practice, you can act as a junior to a person who's into it. So there are so many other ways in which you can actually showcase your talent and hone your skill sets.
I will ask students to, they're very eager to interact with you, ma'am. So I'll let go the students first. I'll reserve my questions for later discussion. If you have any questions to pose to Mamta ma'am, because just to let our viewers know that that our students are set to go for their 1 year long training from 1st of May. And, God has been kind that despite the COVID-19 outbreak and nationwide lockdown, we have been, industry has been very supportive of this program, and internships, most of the internships do start from 1st of May despite national lockdown, and they'll start working virtually. And even our lectures are going very much as scheduled. So GIP in a way has really not been very affected by the national lockdown, and we have been working hard to ensure that the objectives of the course is met. Now, I leave it over to the students to ask questions from Mamta ma'am, and I will then come back later time and ask more questions that I have.
Yeah, so if I may start, ma'am, my first question is, you being a CS, I being a CS, so a fellow CS to another fellow CS, and also the former, member of ICSI, former chairman also. So my question to you is, how for the, CS viewers, how do you think can a company secretary place his or her expertise in IBC, and what is the way forward for a professional like company secretary into this field?
Okay, Akriti, first and foremost, let us not distinguish between a company secretary or a chartered accountant or a management student. Honestly, though, yes, I am former president of ICSI, and of course, I'll always have this edge for a company secretary. But when I have seen people whom I've trained, so many people I've seen in the institute, I think all the professionals, why the government thought that a professional should only be coming into this sector. So they didn't say only a CS or only a CA or whatever. They said professional because the government had that mindset that we have that minimum level of understanding. Okay? We know how to read the law. We know how to interpret the law. We know how to look beyond the lines that is there in the law. Okay, we understand the rules of interpretation because all these facts are there in the minimum manner of the course that we have undergone. So therefore, the government was very conscious of the fact that no Tom, Dick and Harry, for example, they could have said a graduate could also come into the same. Who stopped them?
Absolutely.
So, the only fact that
I
stopped
have a leading question with that. So Chandrasekharan has asked that can a CS practice both as CS and IP together?
Yes, they can. It's on the only distraction is that if a person is in employment. So for example, if this example would have been that Mr. A was in employment as an assistant company secretary in XYZ Limited, okay, would he have practiced as an insolvency professional? The answer to that would have been no.
Yes.
But the answer to your question, Pallavi, direct answer is yes. Even if a person is a CA or a CS or a cost accountant in practice, even then he or she could work as an insolvency professional. So Akriti, that's what I wanted to tell you, that there is a lot of scope in this field, let me tell you, because of the simple reason that you have to understand. See, the threshold limit has increased from 1 lakh to 1 crore.
Yes.
Why what happened? There was a lot of hullabaloo in the market that, oh, the scope has declined. Now, you don't need so many insolvency professionals. Ab kya hoga? Is law mein to ab kuch bacha nahi hai.
Exactly. True.
People have started talking in those lines.
Ma'am, many of our interested candidates also have such a doubt. Initially it was 1 lakh, but now it has been increased 100 times to be 1 crore. So whether there's any scope now in IBC, how the cases would come, whether the company will go into IBC or not. If not, then after all we would be an IP only after 2 years. So what after the future of this?
I'll put to rest all these points. In fact, if you ask me, I think this has been a very good change. I'll tell you why. See, a lot of people have, and give me 5 to 7 minutes. Hear me out.
Sure.
What has happened is, जब ये law आया था, people started using this law in different manners. What we saw in the initial years were that small little experiences, like a person was not paid for 5 lakh for over a period of 2 years. So that person, falling into the category of operational creditor, went to NCLT, filed a case, okay, under Section 9, And the moment he files a case, we saw that the corporate debtor comes forward and repays his money. Ki, Bhaiya, chhod do. I don't want to go to CIRP. Leave me and take your money and go back home. So this we saw persistently happening across all the jurisdictions of the NCLT. So therefore, there was a mindset that it's helping the operational creditors to recover that money. Okay. Whereas if you see, all the courts across the country kept on saying heavily and consistently that it is not a recovery law. Guys, this is not a recovery law. It is a law which puts back the corporate debtor to its feet, and therefore it's a law which talks about resolution. Now, go to the concept of resolution. Where the concept of resolution came from. Firstly, let us look at the year 1990s, okay, when in 1991, we saw heavy reforms coming in where liberalization, globalization, all was allowed by the government of India. And we saw that heavily that ushered a lot of companies to come in. You know, the freedom of entry was given by the government of India. Then we saw in the year, almost in the year 2000, we saw that competition, people started talking about fair competition. And it said that size is not bad. Okay, size is not bad, but if you are abusing your size, that's pretty bad. So therefore, in that era of 2000, we saw that there needs to be a fair play. So initially, we saw a free entry coming in, and then we saw that, okay, over a period of 10, 12 years, things got settled down. Then we started talking about a fair play in the market and said that size is not bad, but abuse of that power which comes with size is bad. And therefore, government brought in Competition Commission of India, etc., etc. Okay. Then the government realized that in the ease of doing business index, what was probably lacking was that easy entry is there. But if I'm not happy, if I want to divorce, I should be allowed to exit that relationship. Okay, at any given point in time. So that easy exit was not there, and whatever mechanism was there, like SARFAESI, etc., was not really working wonders, because that was more of a recovery process where you're leaving the shell and you're taking out everything else. So therefore, the government realized that we need to have an effective mechanism. And when I say all this to you, I have a reason behind, so you just be patient about it. So third phase, we saw that we tried to understand and regulate, because we can't leave it open as hell. So therefore, we tried to regulate and said that, okay, we give you an easy exit, but obviously that will be regulated. Now, why was this brought in? Because entrepreneurship and business is never going to cease in this country, or for that matter in any country across the world. So if entrepreneurship, and with entrepreneurship, taking risks goes hand in hand. So if there is entrepreneurship and if there is business in this world, insolvency law has to coexist. Because if there is people who are taking risk, and with risk, the chances of failure comes again in hand to hand, right? So if you fail because you've taken the risk as being an entrepreneur or as a business leader, then the moment you fail, this insolvency law will come to your rescue and say, hey, fine, you can fail. It's okay to fail. Come, I'll hold your hand. And if you are that bona fide leader who has failed due to genuine business failures, I'll let you, show you the tunnel through which you can be out. And therefore, you are not into that rigmarole of legal issues, etc. And you can lead a life which is afresh. Now, that threshold of 1 lakh to 1 crore, it's only going to show to the world and the country at large that the businesses which are not so small, which actually needs a hand holding, because in those businesses that probably there is no need for separating the promoters from the management of the company, and probably they are just going through a rough patch. And if we just put that axe of an insolvency in the wake of COVID, I can tell you this threshold limit is not going to change probably. That's my take, that it's not only in the COVID era that we see 1 lakh to 1 crore. It's here to stay, okay? Because Section 4, if you see, that's a change which has been brought in the section. Okay, so therefore it's here to stay, and it does not say due to COVID. 7, 9, 10 suspension, the madam said that it could be because of the COVID. So I give her all the 100 marks for bringing this change, because this is going to bring serious issues to the sector now. The companies who are really ailing, and where the promoters are not able to just bring in the right resource and therefore are not able to exit, will actually now be in the insolvency and will find an exit. So therefore, I feel that this change is only going to bring you more opportunity. Imagine a company which had actually probably just failed because of 1,10,000 rupees, just for an example's sake, okay? Because I'm talking to students. So that 1,10,000 fail किया CD and it went into insolvency. अब तुम बताओ जो बंदा 1,10,000 रुपया नहीं दे पा रहा है, while the case was in NCLT for some amount of days, do you think he will be able to even that company, do you think would have anything in it where you could actually bring a resolution?
Absolutely.
Anything in it? Nothing at all. Believe you me, I appear in NCLT across the country on a daily basis, and I see that such companies has nothing in it. If you see those balance sheets, it's just a skeleton. It's just there for the heck of it. It has got nothing, be it asset or be it liability. It's like just a skeleton standing there. So the government, I think this is only showing the seriousness of the government, that 1 lakh to 1 crore. And secondly, people are losing their strings to say that MSME is going to be more into trouble because of this change. I don't agree at all. I totally disagree, because people are saying this because as I mentioned you in the beginning, they were able to realize the money. जैसे वो कोर्ट जाते थे, लोग उसको रीपे कर देते थे, तो they were able to realize that money. Even a lot of people, even the thought leaders said that that was also a form of resolution. Okay, but we don't need that kind of things in this book. That was a side effect, if you ask me. That was a side effect, okay, a counter effect. But what we
And
actually look at is a resolution. Yeah.
so, and if I could add to ma'am's point of view, that so you realize that you have alternate mechanism. So as IBC is just an enabler for companies to revive and restructure. Companies who are in acute distress, you have scheme of arrangement under Companies Act. So if they want to revive the business, probably they should go under the scheme. If you are looking from the creditor's standpoint, you want to protect their interest, you have SARFAESI. So I think you have a lot of alternate mechanism for those companies whose debt is varying between 1 lakh up to 1 crore, between that range. So probably they should use that, and they should not use an IBC as a arm twisting mechanism to get to recover the money. Yeah. So I totally agree with ma'am. In fact, but another good point I learned from you, Mamta ma'am, was that it shows the intention of the government, that the government is very serious about bringing only those cases that really needs a restructuring under IBC. So that is something which I, as an academic, I was also viewing from various perspectives this change. But now I'm totally in tune with you on that. Any other questions that students you have before? Yeah.
If I may add to ma'am, if I may further your answer, I would like to say that the best trait of IBC as a law is it is an evolving law. It is changing as per the requirement of industry, as per the requirement of economy. And when we started the law, when this law came, and now what we see it has evolved so much. And then I think the best thing about it is not a rigid law that if we are seeing that there is some disadvantage or kuch kami reh gayi hai. So central government is so adaptive that okay, if this is not working, then we'll add this. If this is something which needs alteration, amendment, they are doing it in real time rather than doing it in real time as we have seen in previous statutes. So this is what I wanted to add, and I think
Very good.
we all can agree to that.
Yeah.
We more than agree to that.
Yeah. Any questions that you have from the audience before?
There was a question by Ashutosh Rath on similar lines. He asked that whatever the current situation is in where we are heading to economic losses, what impact is going to be in insolvency programs? So I think that more or less answers his question. If you may add,
I'll just add some humor to that. In 2008, was the time when I started my LLM at UCL at University College London. And that was the time we found that, we were facing from the worst crisis, global crisis then. And the only guys who really got job was insolvency lawyers. So, insolvency lawyers always make merry when there's distress, right? So as much as you're the guarding angel of companies, you have more business when there's distress in the economy, because then you get a chance to resolve them and to work on them. So Mamta ma'am, would you agree that this is rather an opportunity in you know
So I think every chaos brings opportunity is what I can say. It's a known fact that where there's a confusion, there's a chaos, there are opportunities. There are always both sides of a coin. I think I would also like to just tell you that as students, especially Akriti had a point as a company secretary. Akriti, when you were talking about the laws and even to the other professionals, let me tell you, see, an insolvency professional also in section 30, I guess, has to say that it is in due compliant.
Yes.
Any resolution plan which comes in is implementable
Yes.
and
Yes.
compliant with all the other laws of the country. So
Yes.
therefore, when you go out in the market to showcase your talent, it is not only, as I was mentioning, that if you have an eye for laws, get into that implementation factor. If you have an eye for finance, start preparing resolution plans. Start consulting those people who are coming out with the takeover of a company, mergers, amalgamations, restructuring mode. Everything is allowed. You know that. If you
Yes.
if you like competition law, there's a plethora of things to be done. If you like SEBI, takeover regulations, etc., etc. Though the SEBI
Absolutely.
said that the takeover regulation will not be applicable when a company goes into insolvency, while a resolution applicant takes over, but it will be applicable for that company later on. So
Yes.
there are
Absolutely.
much to do. Believe you me, I think every sentence in the code, every section in the subsection of the code brings so many opportunities. एक फाइनेंशियल डेट कितने तरीके से डिफाइन किया गया है, तुम ये देखो, एक एक जजमेंट फाइनेंशियल डेट को हमेशा रीडिफाइन कर रहा है. The concept of and includes brought out by the JP judgment. I think it's amazing that what does includes mean in a definition? What does means in a definition? So I think you should have an eye for detail. Secondly, I'm sure you know how much you're able to earn during your internship. It's an amazing figure. All my accolades to the GIP team, especially Neeti, and of course under the guidance of Sahu sir and everybody else. Look at the money that you're getting as an intern, being an insolvency professional. If as an intern you can get that, I think morning shows the day. You can imagine what you will be getting. क्या तुम्हें ऐसे मिल सकता था otherwise? You have to slog to get that money. So as I said, that morning shows the day. So you're able to understand and already gauge. And I'm sure these days the children are very, very sharp. They know what they want out of their life. So let me tell you, you've just taken the right decision. Don't worry, the laws, as Pallavi was mentioning, that the government has started having years now. Okay, previously we used to see that एक law change होने में बरसों लग जाता था, but now the government is so resilient that it hears what is going on in the economy, and the insolvency law committee quickly works on it and thinks about the changes to the government for its consideration, and we see it's getting changed. आज रात को सोए सुबह देखा कुछ और आ गया. So therefore, just don't be worried. Every chaos or every change is going to bring us opportunity.
Ma'am, we do have a question on those similar lines by Divya Tanwar. She asks, post the completion of this course, what other roles can a pass out would get to perform other than being an IP? As this course has students like CA, CS, CMA, advocate, or a postgraduate, they all have different experiences from different fields. How does it benefit all?
So as I was mentioning, see, you can become a forensic auditor because now you have the understanding of everything. You could become a transaction auditor. Okay, you could actually become a process advisor. Okay, you could be a specialist in doing section 29A audits, whether a person fits into the box of 29A. That's what I was saying, that every section gives you opportunity. Every section. You could become an expert in just assisting the IP in taking charge of the assets. Do you think taking charge and preserving and protecting the assets is an easy task? एक कंपनी का 100 एसेट हर स्टेट में पड़ा है, उसके अलग अलग स्टेट लॉज हैं, उसके अलग अलग लोकल अथॉरिटी लॉज हैं. तुम एक जगह जाके चार्ज तो लेकर दिखा दो. It's so tough. Believe you me, there'll be police, there'll be goonmen coming in and they'll say, आप हाथ तो लगा के देखिए. There'll be people who will be actually barging in and telling you, hey, Mr. IP, who are you? We don't understand all this. We don't understand NCLT. And you should have that courage, to say no or at that time, or to also understand whether you need to enter into a fight.
Exactly.
Just leave at that moment. You need to have that skill set to understand when do I need to enter into a legal battle and when I should not be entering into a legal battle, okay? Or for that matter, a battle. So therefore, everything brings you opportunity. Just have faith on me. I have been into the thick and thin of it. I have been into the phase where people said that, look at this first insolvency resolution plan of the country. If this is the fate of IBC, then probably this law needs a relook. I have seen those times when people actually threw stones on me because I was an insolvency professional of a company which gave about 95% haircut. But what is an insolvency professional to do with it? He's the master of the process. He can't be a resolution applicant, right? So, but I never deterred. I stuck to my stand that whatever I'm doing is right. So this law is going to give an opportunity to you, and mark my words, to be a true leader. You will shine in your own eyes. When you see yourself in the mirror, you will feel that, wow, I'm reviving a company. Wow, I'm worthwhile to myself. I'm worthwhile to the nation. And when you will see that if you revived a company, you've been able to save hundreds of employments not going down the drain, then you will actually, आपको इतनी चैन की नींद आएगी ना, आपको लगेगा कि यार ये प्रोफेशन का तो यही मजा है. When you're able to actually give livelihood or secure livelihood of many people. Why are Pradhan Mantri ji and why those people get so much brickbats across the day and I mean for years together when they are serving and when they are not serving, both the ways, but they are always grounded. They're always so motivated because they know that their actions is bringing difference to livelihoods. Their inaction is going to bring into a lot of bad things to the livelihood of people. That simple fact is good enough to keep you moving. Money, believe you me, money is a side effect that will happen. That's a collateral thing that's going to come in. Don't be worried. You are at the right age. You're born in India. Your parents can still take care of you. Your intern money can take care of you. Just be on it. Just learn, and learn. I think I must tell you that GIP course really thought about the age bar. We really had a lot of debate on what should be the right age for you as students. I think that lot of deliberation that we did is right, that we can see in front of our eyes that we are actually bringing the pearls of this nation to service. We're very happy students that you've taken up this course. I just have not been able to come to you in person in spite of so many trials that Neeti did with me. I just couldn't make it. Something or the other just came up. But if COVID is kind to us and if everything opens and I can still see you, I'll make it a point to come and see you. But have faith on yourself, have faith on the code. And believe you me, if not this code, just in case तुम लोग को ऐसा लगता है कि मैम कुछ सालों बाद कोई कुछ नहीं रहेगा, तो भी मैं बोल रही हूँ आपको कि आपने जो स्किल सेट सीखा है वो आपको कहीं ना कहीं आपके लिए हमेशा ही काम आएगा, हमेशा कारगर रहेगा. So just have every positive thoughts in your mind and the sky is the limit.
Ma'am, if I may add here, what would be the course after, because there's a diversified professionals coming here. My take would be, and my learning here is, when we used to get assignment of the task comprising of different professionals, forming a group and doing some assignment, the peer learning, the learning which I get from my colleagues, from my friends, was immense. It not only showed me different perspective, how an engineer thinks to the same problem which we are getting, even though the problem pertains to the finance, how a lawyer thinks about the problem which pertains to the finance. As a finance guy, I used to think only this is the finance guy, this is the finance problem which has to be solved in such a manner. But on the table, what the perspective they used to bring, the learning is immense in the past 9 months, what I have been going through.
Absolutely. If you see, a lot of bankers are chemical engineers.
Yes.
So in fact, we had a question also that with the kind of diversity we have in the batch, how do we all, come to a leveling field? So, what I feel, and Mamta ma'am, correct me if I'm wrong, I have my association with one of the top B schools in the country as a professor. I found that, the job of CXOs, the job of a CEO is to basically develop those, to let the business run, right? To strategize how business should run well. And while they have to look at the finances, while they have to look at the micro, economics of a company, they also have to make those big decisions, how industry is moving and how hence their business should move. Now, with that point, I would like to make a mention here that GIP as a course does not just offer you technical knowledge. We have courses like people management. We have courses like organization management. We have courses like, leadership. Now, these are the courses where you find in executive MBA or a usual MBA would have, but we are more deep dive into these courses, and we try to tailor make it for insolvency situations. By insolvency situations, I mean that for companies which are in distress, because then decision making is hard. So what you learn in GIP is not just technical knowledge, but rather you develop your skills to manage a business. And having said that, I totally agree with Mamta man that it is not that you walk out of the course and you will be able to manage a business. It's not like that. You have to give time. You have to get yourself trained. There is something that experience, you cannot, experience will teach you. You cannot shortcut that. But what you learn here is from vicarious experience of the leaders who are coming. For example, when Bhushan Steel was one of the cases that got solved, we had this, we have the ILP of Bhushan. We had the firm that helped them manage the employees come, and various stakeholders, various decision makers in that case, members of COC, they came and taught our students. So we tried to give them a total 360 review on a particular case. Bhushan is just one example. There's many examples. I remember SR was going on, and and Mr. Gupta came and
the judgment. Yes.
And let me tell this to my audience, and Mamta man, you'd be happy to learn that when Sir came back, Mr. Gupta came back, and he mentioned that Dr. Shikhar, Jane had asked me, one of your students, Jane, asked me a question, and that got me thinking and has got me back to your classroom.
Wow.
So this is the kind of, learning and interaction and the level of discussion you have in the classroom that, these leaders of the industry, they want to come back. And, I remember Mr. Ashwin Bishnoi, he's a partner in Ketan. He had come to teach our, take some expert lectures. And Mamta ma'am, he left with words saying that, today I think I have learned more than what I could teach students. And Neeti, I have got 2 to 3 more arguments for the case that I'm handling right now. So this is the kind of, so I think you have to come with an open mind for this course. So any other question that you can ask, Mamta ma'am?
So, ma'am, if I may add to your comment, there's a Japanese saying which says that it takes a village to, raise a child. And if we come to IBC, I can say that it takes diversification of profession to run a business, and more so if it is, going through tough times. So the way a lawyer can think would be very different from the way an engineer can think. So imagine an engineer, a lawyer, a CA, a CS sitting in a, same table, and their thoughts aligning, and what, jo nikal ke aayega, that would be like awesome. And you cannot have that with one profession and, with one mindset. So this is what GIP offers to us.
Yeah.
Very good. Absolutely. I wish
any other question?
Neeti, we should have this.
Pallavi might have. Pallavi.
There are some questions related to, the upcoming batch. So if you can confirm what is the tentative date for GIPSET, which is asked by Manit Lumba.
So I'd like to let all the participants and viewers know that the GIPSET exam is scheduled for 10th May, and we do not intend to change. We understand that there could be uncertainty, and we may not hold examination on centers in case there's a lockdown. So right now we are going with the old decision to have exams on centers. In event, that there's some situation, some circumstance that does not allow us, we will have proctor's exam where you can sit on your system and take exam from wherever you are. But that is the second option. Firstly, we'll try to do it on the centers, but in any eventuality, the date will not change. Neither will the date of exam change, nor will the starting date of the course will change. And we do so all the more because, we are stickler for our time. I know we have shifted, application dates a couple of times because of the constant requests from candidates and some institutes. There was some clash between some exams in the past, so we had to shift. Having said that, 10th May is the date, and you should be prepared for that.
Ma'am, there's another question from Maneet Lumba, and the person is asking that due to COVID-19 situation, will it be affecting the international guest lecturers which we have seen coming for giving lectures to first GIP batch?
Okay, let me share with you. See, international faculties get involved in, various ways. Firstly, you'll have them to teach a particular course. In GIP, we are very particular that you should only listen from how you should hear from horse's mouth. I mean, that's loosely said. You'd rather, I would say, that you hear from the experts. So if, for instance, if you have a course on Australian insolvency laws, I would not be reading in Australian insolvency laws and teach you, because that will be a secondary knowledge transfer to you. We'll get expert from Australia. Now that we do it from a very sophisticated learning management software that we have at ISEA. And that will not change for sure. Students are here and they can vouch that Professor Scott has taken lectures on US insolvency and bankruptcy.
Yes.
Richard Cole, who is also the chairman of consumer bankruptcy at American Bankruptcy Institute, he has taken lectures. You had Professor Barry from New Zealand. By studying insolvency, we found that you need to know about receivership and administratorship. So from New Zealand, Professor Barry taught. Rello from SMU, he's authority in international insolvency. He has taught. These things will not change, and we'll have this software through which you learn. Another program you interact through is Week with the Legend. Week with the Legend usually would come next year. So there are 2 weeks with the Legend. One would be next year, one in December, and 2021 December. One would be 2022. I'm hoping that situation will be fine by the time, and you should be able to get these international experts on campus. So yeah, I'll just stay hopeful. And trust me, international collaboration, international involvement will only increase with time and not decrease, because what we are doing at GIP is striving towards excellence and do better than yesterday. So next batch, I think that you'll have more flavors, more experiential learning. So yes, that's the precise question. Yeah, that's a precise answer to your question.
Thank you, ma'am.
Ma'am, quickly, we can answer the last question that we have. What if the current lockdown extends? Will the physical classroom lectures would take place, or will it be online?
Yeah, so let me share with you that in case the lockdown extends, I doubt that you'll be able to do physical classes because, assuming there's a lockdown in July, which I don't see it happening, I may be wrong, then you will not be able to shift to the campus. We would agree to that. In that case, your online classes will start. But, students can tell you a little more about the software. The software is so interactive, where the platform that through which we learn. We can do online discussions, online polls. You all can see each other just like we like a Zoom software. In fact, on the sake of being biased, I can say it's better than Zoom, better than any Google classes, any software that you'd see. And, we could do quick polls, we can speak, we can do presentations. And I think students, would you feel that you have not been in a real class through Blackboard that you study?
Ma'am, absolutely. We've been having online classes for I think past 2 weeks now, and we feel it's just like normal class going on. We share our views, we give our presentations. So, and teachers, and I mean, we can talk like we are talking on Zoom, and it's of course, I mean, physical is something else, but then you would not feel that it's anything less than being in the classroom.
Yeah. Having said that, let me just clarify that the current batch, few of them, the lockdown started from Monday, ma'am. And yes, so some students were visiting home, but most of them were on campus. So right now, everybody is on campus. And I think ISCA campus is a lush green 14-acre campus, the safest of place you could imagine in the country because it's totally, quarantined, right? Students, we don't allow them to step out and in of the campus, but I don't think they find a need because they have a very fancy sports, area. They have a volleyball court, they have badminton court, they have a library on campus. They have a yoga trainer on campus
Yes, ma'am.
dedicated to them as to when they want to do yoga. He comes to train them. So I think they have everything on campus. You don't have to move out. But for the new batch, I think it will if the lockdown is it's lifted, then of course we start physical classes. Otherwise, online classes definitely will start from 1st July.
Ma'am, if I can add here, even our class started in the initially first week. We also had classes online only
Yeah.
due
Yeah.
to the certain reasons that we were unable to be on the campus on the date of joining. So we strictly adhered to the time limits of starting the classes. And then when most of the students were here, then only the physical classes started.
Yes.
But
A
as
week
of
late.
a week later.
So what we do is, we have an orientation in the beginning. Mamta ma'am, if you recollect, we decided in the last year in the AC meeting that we will have a sort of bridge course where we try to do 1 week teaching, finance to non-finance students,
Yes.
law to non-law. And of course, this is for everybody. And we try to bring you to a leveling field before we begin with the regular curriculum of GIP. Yeah. Any other questions, Pallavi?
So, ma'am, there's one question which I think has been adequately addressed, but I still like to put it forward because it has been asked like by quite a few people. So there are this is by Divya, and she asked, there are like 3,000 experienced IPs in the country. So how we being as a young fresher IPs would have a standing in the market? Because I believe, and out of practical experience, the COC prefer the professional who have ample experience in this field.
Mamta ma'am, I would direct this question to you.
Yeah, sure. Not really. I mean, that's not correct. In fact, COC has no such things in their mind that they need ample experienced person. It is only in the cases like, for example, Bhushan or the Big 12 cases that we saw. But if you recollect the Big 12 cases when it came, that was a time when all the IPs were new.
Absolutely.
No one had an experience. So probably people just thought that, okay, जिसके पास ज़्यादा degrees है या फिर 20 years किसके पास कैसा experience है, especially the Big 4, Big 5 came into the picture. That's how things happened. Are you aware of the number of cases that is doing the rounds in the country?
I think it's round about 2,800 if I'm not wrong.
So I guess it's about 4,000.
Oh, my bad.
So do you think there are 3,000 IPs?
Yeah.
अभी तुम बोल रहा था, तो फिर बाकी 1,000 कहाँ से आ रहे हैं? सब आईपी को मोटा मोटी जो फ्रेश है या फिर जो experienced है, it only depends that are you there at the right place in the right time. Okay, and let me also tell you, in the case of operational creditors, a lot of times the operational creditors don't name an IRP. Now things will change because अब 1 lakh 2 lakh वाले cases तो जाएंगे नहीं. It will
Exactly.
That is a time when we may see people naming the IRP. So we need more IRPs now. The demand will actually go up. What used to happen was in the smaller cases, people used to just not name it and leave it to the honorable adjudicating authority for giving a name. So adjudicating authority always maintains a panel of people in their limited jurisdiction that they operate in. For example, if it's northern region, so they will have a list of people who have registered themselves to be on the panel in the northern region. It depends upon the registered address of the IP. Okay? IBBI does this process. So therefore, they pick up any name. Now, when they pick up any name, I'm sure you understand, AA doesn't see ki kiske paas kya experience hai. It picks up a name and therefore incorporates it as an IRP. So I think that's just a misnomer to say that only experienced people will get work and you don't need, your degree of an IP is an experience to people.
Yeah.
That will be what it is. So suppose Pallavi becomes an IP, पल्लवी के साथ साथ ये थोड़ी लिखा रहेगा उसके नाम के आगे कि ये 5 साल वाली आईपी है. ये लिखा रहेगा पल्लवी is a resolution is an insolvency professional, that's it. अब मेरे नाम के आगे 25 साल थोड़ी लिखा रहता है कि 25 years of experience as a professional, नहीं रहता है. So therefore you are just for anybody you are just actually an insolvency professional. It's just a misnomer to say कि experience वाले को मिलेगा non. हाँ, where you get into a very serious case like the Big 12 or Jet Airways, etc. Obviously, it's but obvious that people will like to have people who've already handled that big gamut cases. That goes without saying.
Ma'am, I would like to add something here.
I just want to tell you everybody that world is not coming to an end. सबको ऐसा लग रहा है कि अभी सब कुछ खत्म हो जाएगा, बस अभी कल किसको कुछ नहीं पता. ऐसा नहीं. Companies Act भी जब आया था ना, तो people used to think yes, what work will you fetch? You're just a CS. एक Companies Act की तो हम अच्छे से जानते हैं और तो हम सब पढ़ते हैं, but we have a mastery over Companies Act. Now look at what has happened. Companies Act 2013 and the plethora of governance issues that's plaguing some of the big companies in the corporate sector has brought limelight to the position of a company secretary. Who thought that a company secretary would be a celebrated profession? Okay, who thought that chartered accountancy, after failures of like few big barons, will actually put the focus light on a CA, and people who have been absolutely on the job with a lot of ethics in its place will really earn very well, not only name, fame, but even money as a chartered accountant. Who thought? सबको लगता था यार जो बैड गाइज है वो लोग ज्यादा अर्न कर रहे हैं, जो गुड गाइज है कोई पूछता ही नहीं है. But see how the focus has shifted. It just has become the opposite. So let me tell you, there is always an opportunity. Just don't wear those glasses which only shows you red all over. It's green all over. You just have to wear the right pair of glasses.
Absolutely, ma'am. Absolutely, I agree with you.
Ma'am, I would like to add here. Okay, there are 3,000 IPs. I agree with the question which is asked. But ma'am, how many IPs are under the age of 30? That is the second question which will be asked. We would be the IPs under the age of 30. We would be having a new experience, a new dimension, a new thing to add wherever we go. Our learning would be more there. We would be taken like with open arms in the industry. So even out of all this, there's a silver lining that we would be IP under the age of 30. That itself is an achievement for us.
तुम अपने नाम के आगे लिखना नहीं, comma under the age of 30.
I'll just add something, Mamta ma'am. I'd like to share that I started in academic very early in my life. And I think by age, I'm one of the youngest associate professors in the country in law. So, you know, I was taught by one of my interviewers who were interviewing me. So they said that one statement that they made really left a mark. And she said that it's not the age, it's the knowledge.
Absolutely.
And which means that, you know, it's not about the age. Have you learned enough? And this knowledge you can experience directly. You can experience vicariously through interacting. And what you need to be is confident and be open about it. And, you know, for GIP, my first batch, I think I know all my students, I had interacted with them before they joined the course. You know, they'd always ask me, ma'am, 2 saal baad kya hoga? Will I get the best job? And I said, I don't know after 2 years what will happen to you. Because industry is so new, I don't know. But I can guarantee that after 10 years, each one of you will be leading their own respective field wherever they are. Because at GIP, what we are creating is a thought leadership. We are not creating just another profession. We are not. What we're creating is thought leadership. So I can vouch for my first batch, and I'm so grateful to them that each one of them have really stood the, you know, my aspiration that I came and joined this course. It was unsettling for all of them. It was unsettling for me because this was something that I was doing for the first time, of course, without guidance like great mentors like Mamta ma'am, Vijay sir, Abhizay sir, Dr. Sharma, who's our DG CEO, Sahu sir. Everybody in the ecosystem, this program would not have been so successful, at least for first year. But, you know, each one of them have at least honed that skill over these 9 months, and I'm sure they'll hone it better, hone it finer. And 10 years, they will be leaders in their respective fields. And why I say so, ma'am, is, you know, the kind of thinking they have. Let me just share with the audience that, you know, when they were doing an exercise that Dr. Sahu had given, and it was on financial service provider. And, you know, they are asked to develop a model regulation for FSPs. Now, this is also a project that our center is, planning to do this year. We'll be doing it with our team of researchers, and we found that students have done an excellent work. So when I went to review their work before it was to be sent to the ministry, we found that they had an excellent work. All I needed to do them was tell them how the proposals are to be, policy documentations have to be done, and I just had to guide them about the format. Of course, I reasoned out few clauses, but they had done an excellent job. They're doing on code resolvability. They are, students are working on various aspects, and they're looking at is how an insolvency laws or policies have to be in future. So they're not only looking at laws as is today, but looking at how the law ought to be. And I always quote this that Mr. Anurag Das, who's the MD CEO of IARC, the Blackstone Group of India. It's a subsidiary, wholly owned subsidiary of Blackstone Group. Mr. Anurag Das, when he came and he gave us a suggestion that there has to be more stress on working financial modeling or in stressed companies. We were so quick in time that now we are developing a module, an elective, along with the regular courses to be offered to the next batch.
Wow.
Where Anurag sir has kindly agreed to come and teach the students. So this is the kind of vigor and commitment we have in the course. We did an Excel training and evaluation training for them, but we got feedback from the recruiters and said that no, the Excel training has to be really advanced. What they have is good, but if they could really go further into it. And now we have arranged for the Excel training throughout the 3 trimesters that you will study for the next batch. So the kind of response to suggestions that we have in the batch coming from industry experts is very quick. Something comes to me, I quickly take it to my academic board members and take their guidance, and we implement it almost in no time. So this is something that I want to tell you about the course. Any other question? And then we can probably try to wind up the discussion.
If you can very quickly answer this one by Maneet Lumba. He asks, is the course structure same for coming batch like that of previous batch?
Okay. Puneet, let me answer a question that let me just go back to little history about the course. There's a working committee report that we adhere to, which is like our Bible. And we follow that very strictly. And that is where the GIP course emanates from. So we will be following that course. However, there was a decision made in the, that the course has to be updated now. And especially with the changes in the law that has happened, we found that the course has to be more open and more focused on IBC as much as on resolution of stress in a company. So, for example, courses on turnaround management, turnaround has to be incorporated. What we did for the first batch was just few workshops around that, but for the next batch, we will run it like a module. So the course will not divert from what we have, but build on that. And the committee is already looking into it. The academic board is looking into it. In fact, Mamta ma'am, if you recollect, Vijay sir and I have to prepare the first draft and send it to you all for the review. Yeah. And very soon we'll be doing it. So we will build on what we have under the GIP working committee. But this time the course will be more focused on turnaround, on resolution of stress in a company. And we are looking for financial modeling for stressed companies, as Mr. Das has suggested, because now we want to really take the next step. IBC is only a tool for resolution, but there are various other tools available. What are those tools? I feel that to ensure that our professionals, our graduates stay relevant for the industry, it's important that they also have hands on these areas. As much as they become IP and they'll be qualified to work for resolution under IBC, they should be able to ensure that they are able to handle few cases outside IBC also, right? So we will be focusing on that. We'll be doing some live, hands-on pre-packs. They had few workshops on pre-pack last year, but this time we will see how we can take it to the next step and help them, so a week-long work on pre-pack and help them, design a pre-pack agreement for companies, pre-pack plans for the company. So this is what our idea is for the coming batch. Yeah. Any other question before we go for the last words of wisdom? So, Mamta ma'am, would you like to give some last words of wisdom to the viewers and to the students?
I want to talk about the GIP only as my last words because it's very close to our heart, and we've been seeing unfolding of GIP in its truest sense. So we can say that it's like a mother and a child approach that we have towards GIP. We've seen it taking birth and now how it is growing, etc., etc. In that perspective, I just wanted to tell you that I just talk. This is anecdotal, so just spare me 2-3 minutes. There was this guy, who went, he was on a holiday. You can't go overseas now for a holiday. So let me just not have a name to it, but just for the sake of a better understanding and a better humor. So he went to Poland on a holiday, and it was a Sunday afternoon. So when he was taking a stroll in the park, and he saw a beautiful lady in the park. So he couldn't stop himself and he wanted to go inside the park. So he went in and said, he just observed it. That beautiful lady was engaged in some sketching with the help of a pencil. So he just stood by the side for a minute or so, and then he couldn't stop himself and said that, "Hey, beautiful lady, can you draw a beautiful painting of mine?" Obviously, the lady was in that job of drawing paintings with a sketch and a pencil. So she said, "Just wait for your turn to come, gentleman." So after a while, the gentleman got his share of a seat, and he got himself seated in the front bench, where a big bench was there. He sat there, and in just about a few minutes, the sketch was ready. So that lady extended her arms and said, "Here, take your sketch." And you would be amazed as to what happened then. So the male person, he took the sketch, and just then the lady said, "Hey, 300 pounds." Oh my God. The man just fell off the roof and said, "You're charging me 300 pounds for this 3 minutes that you've invested to draw my sketch." The lady heard him well, and just in about half a second, she replied back, and that deserves your attention. She said that, "Hey, ma'am, hey, mister, I am not charging for this 3 minutes of work that I did. Actually, I'm charging for that 30 years of experience that I have put in to draw this sketch in flat 3 minutes, and that too with absolute perfection." So in GIP, I think NITI is taking all efforts to make sure that the people whom you would not even have thought to rub your shoulders with, or you would have just probably read them in the textbooks that you read on, she is bringing them live right in front of you. And that 2-hour lecture that a person gives is actually giving you and sharing that 20 years of experience probably that he has behind his back. In that 2-hour session, 1-hour session, or 45-minute session, he's pouring in every critical learning that he feels is important to you at this stage of your life. So probably I think GIP is one that of course is honing your skill sets, etc., etc. But more so what I feel that when we attend conferences and seminars, it actually should instigate your mind to think further. So probably you will not be able to remember and capture the facts and the figures that a person is saying. But if you are serious with your learning, you'll always be able to captivate the thought or that vision that the person is trying to envision in you through that session. I think GIP, the kind of meticulous effort that it takes, that अगर एक सब्जी में एक नमक का एक दाना भी ज्यादा नहीं होना चाहिए और एक दाना कम भी नहीं होना चाहिए, because then it loses that taste, the right flavor, the right taste, and at the right time. And believe you me, we are not just going to leave you like this. You will be our people for time immortal. जब तक IICA है, you will be ours, right? Be it or Mamta ma'am, doesn't matter. It's the institution that has built it up. So the institution is going to remain as time immortal, I'm sure, because it's under the aegis of the Ministry of Corporate Affairs. The government is not going anywhere. The country is not going anywhere. It is not an institute that is, kind of reverse its stand and go away, etc., etc. It's not, nothing of that sort is going to happen. So you are now the permanent people whom we'll always cherish. I think be firm on your ground. Just make sure that you are not letting your parents down, because you spend their hard-earned living. It's not easy to bring out so much of money, shell out so much of money to get into a course which you think ki pata nahi kya hoga, right? And in spite of
Exactly.
that, parents have decided to put in so much of money. Not all of us have that much in spare that we've been able to put in. I know of many students who have really worked hard to bring the resources together. Make sure that you're not letting it go waste, and also make sure that all the efforts being put in by Niti is staying with you forever. We are making you better individuals and not only better professionals.
So with that, I'd like to take the privilege of concluding this hour and a half session, long session of the webinar. So our immense gratitude to you, Mamta ma'am, for giving us those valuable suggestions and inputs that boosted our confidence, and also that could help the prospective candidates of GIP do their SWOT analysis that you said right in the beginning of the webinar. So thank you for that. I'd also like to thank Dr. Neeti for joining us and guiding us throughout our journeys and journeys of other students as well. Thank you, my friends, to Manoj and Akriti. And thank you for the patience that is shown by the live audience. And I just think that we have addressed their queries sufficiently well. So thank you all of you for joining the webinar. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you,
Bye.
everybody.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.
Pleasure. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, ma'am.